Whether you're a complete beginner or an advanced skater, taking care of your figure skates is one of the most important things you can do as a figure skater. Today, I'm going to be going over how to take care of your figure skates properly so that they last longer, you can avoid rust, and they don't break down as quickly. If you're new, hi, my name is Sophia. I'm a beginner figure skater. I started figure skating when I was 15, and I post all about my figure skating progress as well as how you can start your very own figure skating journey at any age. First, we're going to go over how to store your figure skates properly. After every practice, make sure to wipe down your boots and your blades with a towel to get off any ice or moisture left on your skate blade. Then you're going to want to use your soakers, not your hard guards, to absorb any extra moisture left on the skate blade. Soakers will also help prevent rust from developing on your blades. Then when you get home, make sure to take your skates out of your skate bag or unzip your skate bag and pull the tongues out of your skates like this so that the inside of the boot can fully dry. Otherwise, moisture can get trapped inside of your skate boot, causing your skates to smell or potentially grow mold. Also, never ever leave your skates in your hot car, especially if your skate boot is heat moldable. Some models of skates can be heat molded to fit your foot shape, and leaving them in the hot car could potentially ruin that mold and warp the boots. Next, we're going to be talking about getting our skates sharpened regularly. Getting your skates sharpened regularly is essential for getting the best performance out of your skates on the ice. The general guideline is usually to get your skate blades sharpened every 30 to 40 hours that you spend on the ice. Overall, this just depends on how much you're skating. I usually get mine sharpened once a month, but I know other skaters who go every 2 to 3 months or maybe even longer. It really just depends on how much you skate and how sharp you like your blades. Signs that you need to get your skate blades sharpened are: number 1, you feel your edges slipping out from under you when you try to stop or turn. Number 2, you lose grip on the ice during your jumps and spins. And number 3, you can visibly see nicks in the blade when you're looking at it. Another way you can tell is by lightly running your finger over the skate blade and feeling the edges, feeling the hollow of the blade, and checking if they're dull. You can also do the fingernail test, which is where you run the back of your fingernail across the edge of the blade, and if it shaves off a little tiny bit of your fingernail and you can see your fingernail on the blade, then they're sharp. But if you can't, then they're dull. Always be careful when you're handling your skate blades like this, because there's always the potential that you could cut your finger or nick your finger on the blade. Typically, they're not that sharp, but there's always the potential that it could nick your finger. This did happen to me once on the ice. I was checking my skate blades like this, and it did slice my finger and I was bleeding, but not super bad. Lastly, make sure you're going to a good figure skate sharpener, not just somebody who sharpens hockey skates. Figure skate blades require a different sharpening technique, and you could potentially get your blades ruined if you go to somebody who only knows how to do hockey skates. Please learn from my mistake, because I got 2 pairs of skates ruined by going to somebody who uses an automatic skate sharpener, and they didn't know how to properly do figure skates, so they completely flattened out my blade like a hockey skate, took off some of my toe pick, and I had no more rocker on my blade. I could immediately tell when I stepped on the ice that something was wrong, and I had to get my blades replaced. So please make sure you're going to a good figure skate sharpener, because blades are not cheap, and I had to replace $300 blades that were essentially brand new before they got ruined. Next, we're going to be talking about using our guards. This is a super simple but really important habit, and it's using the guards at the right time. You should always have your hard guards on when you're wearing your skates and you're not on the ice. So when you're putting your skates on, when you're walking to get on the ice, and immediately when you get off the ice, you should have hard guards on your blade. Using your hard guards will protect your blades from any dirt or things on the floor that could potentially damage or dull your blades. Trust me, I'm guilty of not wearing my hard guards all the time, especially on the skate safe floor, but there's always the potential of ruining your blades if you do this, so don't follow in my footsteps. You should also use your soakers or soft guards after skating. Don't leave your skates in hard guards after skating, because they can trap moisture on your blade, which can develop rust on your blade. I've seen skaters get rust on their blades just by leaving their skates in hard guards for a day, so make sure that you don't leave them on for too long, because rust can develop quickly, and hard guards are only meant to be used for short periods of time. Never ever step on any floors without guards that aren't the skate safe rubber floors. Don't ever step on tile, concrete, wood, or even carpet without guards on. Doing this could ruin your blades. I also get a lot of questions asking, well, can I walk around in my soakers instead of my hard guards? And the answer is no. Soakers are essentially just made up of a soft towel type material material on the inside. And if you step on something, soakers don't have the structural protection that hard guards do. Next, we're gonna go over how to lace up your skates properly. Every brand requires you to lace up your skates a little bit differently, so make sure you're following the technique that your skate brand recommends. I personally have a Dea, which recommends that you lace softer at the toe, tighter in the middle, and then softer again at the top. Typically for any boot, the middle section is going to be the tightest for the most support. If you're not lacing up your boot properly, there is always the potential that it's causing your boot to break down quicker, especially if you're in Adeas. If you're lacing them super tight at the top, it could cause extra strain and creasing on the top, which could cause them to break down, especially because most of the support in Adeas comes from the tongue. Another thing I recommend doing is replacing your laces every so often. Over time, laces lose their elasticity, which can cause your skates to feel looser on the ice. Every brand is different, but I know personally for Adea, they recommend you change them once a month. I personally don't change them that often, and I think it really depends on how much you're skating and also how hard you're skating on your boots and how much pressure you're putting on your laces. But if you notice your skates feeling loose pretty often, it could be a sign that you need to replace your laces. Lastly, when you're replacing your laces, every brand laces them up differently. So I know personally for Adea, they do it differently, where the ends of the laces come out on the inside of the boot like this, versus I know Jackson, it comes out on the outside like this. So just make sure you're following the lacing technique that your brand recommends. Next, we're gonna go over unlacing your boots. One of the worst habits I see beginner skaters doing is not unlacing their skates all the way when they're trying to take them off. When you do this and you try to pull your foot out of the boot, you're gonna be putting extra pressure on this right here, and it's gonna crease the tongue down here when you're pulling your foot out of the boot. This extra pressure that you're putting on the boot when you're unlacing it is going to weaken the structure of the tongue, so just make sure you're unlacing it all the way to the bottom when you're taking your skates off. And then lastly, always make sure you untie your laces all the way to the bottom before you put them in your skate bag too, because leaving them tied like this is also putting extra tension on the skate like this. So you want to make sure they're unlaced all the way to the bottom and you're able to pull the tongue out like this. Next, we're going to be going over keeping your skates as clean as possible. If you want to keep your skates looking as clean as possible, you can use skate tape or boot covers. Skate tape is a protective tape that goes along the side of your skates and protects your skates from getting any scratches. Boot covers are fabric covers that go all the way over the boot and protect your skates from any scratches. Another great option, and what I do personally, is I pull my leg warmers all the way down over my skates to try and cover them up as much as possible to avoid getting any scuffs or scratches. I personally do that one, and it's how I've been able to keep my skates looking super clean even after about 1.5 years of skating in them. I've also seen skaters use snow seal on their leather skates, which is basically just a waterproofing seal. Skaters may use that to protect the leather on their boots, but that only works if you do have skates that are made out of leather. If your skates do end up getting some scuffs or smudges on them, you can always try and clean them off. I personally always use a towel and some water and just wipe away, and it usually comes clean, but you may need to use a skate safe cleaner if you have some stubborn marks on your skates. Then again, this is also just 100% personal preference, and having scuffs and scratches on your boots isn't going to necessarily affect the support of your boots. It's only cosmetic, and it only matters if you want your skates to look really clean. Next, we're gonna go over what to do if you have smelly skates. Being 100% real, my skates definitely don't smell the best, and that is 100% normal. Skates will start to smell over time just because of how much you sweat in them, but there are some ways you can manage and prevent your skates from developing any smells. One option is to use an odor eliminating spray after every practice, which will kill off any bacteria and prevent any smell from building up in your skates. Make sure you try and get a spray that's specifically for sports gear. Another great option is to get like sneaker deodorizers that you put inside your skate boot so that they can help prevent any smells when you're storing your skates. Make sure you're washing your skating socks and your leg warmers too, because skating in sweaty socks can cause your skates to smell worse. You also need to make sure your skates air out in between practices. Airing them out will help prevent any smells from developing also. Lastly, if you notice your blades developing rust, don't panic, and here's what to do to fix it and prevent it in the future. The best thing you can do to get rid of any rust on your skates is to get your skates sharpened. A sharpening should be able to take off any rust that you have on the bottom of your blade. Rust can develop really fast, and if it's left for too long, it can eat away at the metal on your blades and cause uneven spots on the blade, which could potentially lead to permanent damage on your blades. To prevent rust in the future, future, make sure you're always wiping down your blades, storing them in soakers, and not leaving them in hard guards for too long. You also want to make sure you're not leaving them in a humid environment either, because that can develop moisture on the blade, which could develop rust. To wrap up this video, here's 3 rapid fire tips to help keep your skates in the best shape possible. Number 1, if you went skating on an outdoor rink, make sure to get your blade sharpened shortly after you went skating. Outdoor rinks are usually really rough and could mess up your blades, simply because things fall on the rink a lot more, like leaves and dirt, and all of that can get trapped underneath the ice and could ruin your blade. Number 2, wash your hard guards occasionally. Over time, they build up dirt on the inside, and putting dirty hard guards on your blades isn't really the best idea. And lastly, number 3, make sure you're checking the screws on the bottom of your skates occasionally. You basically just want to do this to make sure none of the screws have come loose in the bottom of your skates. If your screws did come loose, it could make it harder to skate, and it's also really dangerous. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. If you know of any other tips on how to take care of your figure skates, leave them in the comments below. Your comment could help another skater who needs help taking care of their figure skates. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!